back in the days when we were privileged enough to do live gigs, and I would get a handful of victims from amongst the musicians and blindfold them and play them 8 tracks and get them to comment on them. And it was usually quite good fun because there are different levels of expertise, and people are specialists in one style of jazz or another. And jazz obviously can be a cause of some divisions and disagreements. So I didn't always get 100% approval for the tracks that I picked, and it was usually interesting to watch the reactions of the musicians and the audience. So what I've picked 8 tracks out from here. They're not what I would call necessarily hackneyed tracks, so there'll be things that you may not have heard before. I would expect that most of the panel will be familiar with most of them, but we'll see what happens. Okay, first track coming up. Here it is. Well, let's go to Martin Litton first of all. Martin, what did you make of that?
Well, I can tell you the name of the track. It's Farewell Blues.
Yeah.
I would say it was a white band.
Yeah.
Yeah. George Bruni's on trombone?
No.
No, I wasn't sure about that. I mean, I like the asthmatic alto playing. Sounded like the sort of playing that Aid Monsbury used to parody the Australian, and Humphrey Lyttelton said it was like a man, sounded like a man trying to extract his own tooth. Yeah, that's all I got to say, I think.
Okay, thank you, Martin.
Good drumming.
Yeah, okay. Josh, would you like to carry on? What did you make of it?
What I made of that, it sounded like the Bob Crosby Bobcats for the band there, because I could really hear Ray Baduk's drumming in there. And it was very familiar because years ago here at the Bix Fest, Eddie Metz led the Bob Crosby Bobcats with his son on drums, and they played that song as the first song of their program, and they were sharing the set with the New Wolverines from Australia. And they opened the set with Farewell Blues. So I thought, it's kind of neat. We're starting the whole program as Farewell Blues. So my guess would have to be Bob Crosby's Bobcats for the band there.
Right, you're a little bit early because it isn't the Bobcats. It is Ray Baduch, and it has a few of the musicians that were associated with the Bobcats.
About the only thing I think of would be if I was a little bit early and it'd be later, then that's my realm a little bit.
Sorry, the recording is earlier than the Bobcats.
Oh, then it'd be one of Pollock's groups because Duke was drumming with Pollock at the time.
It's not a Pollock group either.
Okay, then strike out with that one.
Okay, well done on getting Ray Baduch some fine drumming on there. Chris, I suspect you might know who this is.
Well, it was Jack Teagarden on trombone.
Yeah.
So I would assume that we're looking at a band, as Josh said, it's a pickup group from the members of the Pollock band.
Yeah.
So just, let's see. Eddie Miller on tenor. I didn't hear an alto. I sounded like tenor to me.
No, there isn't an alto on there that I can see on the personnel list. It's not Eddie Miller.
Okay. Well, as far as the rest of the guys, I'm obviously Josh got Baduch.
Yeah.
As far as like trumpet players, I can't really think of. I didn't hear McPartland there, but maybe he was out of the band by then.
No, he's not on it.
Yeah, I didn't sound like him. Anyway, Teagarden's the only one I was sure of.
Yeah, well, Teagarden it is. Hal, what do you know, Hal?
I thought the drummer might actually be Sammy Weiss. It sounded more like him to me than Baduch, so I'm kind of surprised to hear that was Baduch. But good call there, Josh. Glad to find that out. Definitely Teagarden. I could hear that right away. I'm wondering if that might be Fudd Livingston on the reed solo and maybe Sterling Bowes on the cornet or trumpet.
No.
Okay, I quit.
Okay. Well, this was a pickup. This was a pickup group put together by Irving Mills, and it's Mills Merrymakers from 1930. Charlie Teagarden, Ruby Weinstein, Jack Teagarden, Gil Roding, Matty Matlock, Larry Binion, Eddie Bergman, Al Bella, Vic Bredis, Dick Morgan, Harry Goodman, and Ray Baduch.
I was going to say Harry Goodman and Charlie Teagarden, but I thought maybe that wouldn't be right, so I could have said that.
You should have said that, but not a bad score. I mean, we got the bones of it, and of course, because it's not a regular band, it's not immediately obvious who it was. And I first came across this on an Eddie Condon compilation double LP, and I was amazed at the amount of drive and excitement, particularly from Baduch, who was really laying it down. So there we are. Okay, well, let's move on to the next track. This is jazz of a very different style. So let's see what you make of this one. Let's go to Josh first on this. What do you make of that, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, 40s for sure. With what
Yeah.
I'm hearing is for the length of it too.
Yeah.
It sounded like a black band that was playing.
Yeah.
I mean, I could hear riffs on the piano of Fats Waller inspiration. Kind of drawn a blank. I mean, that's about all I could come up with. 40s. I've been so much 20s and 30s lately. I haven't gotten into the 40s a lot there. So, but at least got two parts of it right there. So that's not too bad.
No, that's pretty good, and it's perceptive to say that there's a Waller influence there, because I think that's particularly true of this this piano player. Okay, well, in the order that we've got, it should go on to Chris then next.
Buck Clayton on trumpet, Dickie
Yep.
Wells on trombone, Lester Young on tenor sax,
Yeah,
Al Basie on piano, Walter
Yep.
Page on string bass,
no,
Freddie Green on guitar, and Joe Jones on drums.
all correct except for the bass player.
What?
Yup.
Dang, I don't know.
Okay, well, that's a pretty good score. In actual fact, if I was to run true to what the original 78 label said on it, I wouldn't allow you Count Basie, but it was Count Basie, and it's Count Basie moonlighting on the Keynote label, where he was where he was listed as Prince Charming.
Oh yeah. Well, there you go. and the thing for me is, that's obviously a riff tune that they came up with, but I could not remember the title of it at all.
Destination KC.
Oh, well, there you go. I used to have a copy of it. What can I say?
It's wonderful stuff. Okay, Hal, over to you. What do you say about it?
Well, Chris nailed all the personnel. I'm wondering if that's Rodney Richardson on bass.
Yep, that's right.
Okay, good. Wonderful swinging stuff.
Any comments about the drumming in particular, Hal?
Now, I knew that was Joe right away.
Yeah.
And the way he placed the accents and reacting to the soloists and his punctuations kind of echoing what they had just played a few times like that, but no one else got that sound on the hi-hat.
Yeah.
And no one else really punctuated with a small band the way Joe did. I don't think Big Sid played that way. Krupa didn't play that way. That's very distinctively Joe to my ears.
Yeah.
It was
Absolutely.
because of the way he lived.
Sorry, what was that?
It's because of the way he lived.
Yeah. He was a...
That's a little inside joke that I figured Hal would get.
Right. Any comment, Hal?
Oh, that's from the Joe Jones Talking Records, where he's describing Duke Ellington's music, and he talks about Chick Webb, and he uses phrases like that.
It's wonderful.
It really is something else. Yeah, it's a must for us drummers.
Absolutely. Okay, Martin, I guess you've got something to say about Prince Charming.
Yeah. Yes, of course, he was influenced massively by Fats Waller, and you could hear like a little quote from A Handful of Keys there, couldn't you, in your solo? I know this quite well because I transcribed it for a band in some of the other of these. It's the 6 and 7, isn't it?
Yeah.
The name of the band. Yeah. Great tracks, and as Chris implied, that sounds like a tune they probably made up in the studio.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. It was recorded in 22nd of March, 1944. And there's about 4 or 5 tracks from that session, and each one of them is a gem. Well, let's go to the next track, which is going to be very, very different again.
Cloudy skies and rain. My poor back is broke with pain. My man sleeping, I'm a rubbing. Children weeping, clothes a tubbing. Pains a creeping, eyes a drubbing all day long. Up to the washing soap, down to the waters once more. Head down low, head low. Up to the water so, down to the waters once more. Poor hands go, oh Lordy. So weary of washing, days dreary. So weary of slushing them clothes. Up to the washing soap, down to the waters once more. Washboard blues never get me gone from here. Scrubbing dirty clothes all year. Clothes, raggedy clothes, grimy clothes, musty clothes, that's all I know. Up and down, back and forth, all year long. Oh, Lordy. Won't you hear my song? Hear my song. Washing in a shanty on the shore, river swinging by my door. Hear that river lowly calling, eyes a shiver, nights a falling. Hear that river lowly moaning, moaning low. Down to the river, down to the river someday. Hurry day, hurry day, hurry day, oh hurry. Gone to the river, down to the river someday. Throw myself, my poor self away, oh Lordy. Keep robbing, keep scrubbing, keep robbing, keep rubbing them old dirty clothes. Going to the river, down to the river someday. Hurry day, hurry day, hurry day. Lord, Lord, hurry.
Right. Okay. Chris, would you like to start this one off, please?
That was Connie Boswell singing the Washboard Blues.
Yep.
And that was a really long track. It was like 5 minutes long.
Yep.
I'm trying to remember what the deal was with this. Is this one of these Paul Whiteman 33 1/3, 78 things?
No, I don't think it was a 33 1/3, and it isn't Paul Whiteman.
Oh dear. Yeah, I don't know the band at all.
Okay, Martin. Sorry, Hal. We'll go to Hal next.
I recognize Connie Boswell, but as Chris said, I can't really tell anything about the band. I didn't hear any distinctive jazz voices in the instruments there to tell me who it might be. That could be just about any hot dance band of the early 30s, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Would you like to put a year on it?
I would guess. Well, I have to guess I'd say between 1931 and 34.
Okay, well, 32 will do. So that's
Okay.
when it was recorded, March the 16th, 32. Martin.
Yes, well, ditto. I got Connie Boswell. Funny enough, when it started, I thought it might be another one of those Irving Mills type groups, and I was expecting Hoagie to start singing because he's the composer of that song, Washboard Blues. Very much one of his kind of rural style compositions. He was a ruralist like that other composer, Willard Robeson. But no, I wouldn't know. Was Hoagie on piano?
No.
No, didn't. Yeah, I must admit, it didn't sound like him. It was interesting because there was a little interlude where he slipped in a bit of Lazy Bones to my ears.
Yep.
Yeah. That's all I got to say.
Okay, thank you, Martin. Josh.
Yeah, I could hear Connie Boswell, and same thing with Hal. I was right in that time frame of like 1931 to 34. Then when he's 32, it was I was thinking of like just the post fix of what I call 1931. Anything past that, that's where I was sifting around. I mean, definitely a white band with what I could hear. When I was hearing the vibes, I knew it wasn't like a Red Norvo or anybody like that. So I was trying to rack my brain of who could be multi-instrumentalist and playing stuff like that. And I know like George Marsh could have possibly been the player there for drumming. But yeah, I was striking out just like everybody else was, trying to figure out who the band was. And it's a nice sounding group for sure. It's the song, I know the title, no vocalist, but all the other details started getting crumbled in my brain there.
Okay, well, this was the Casa Loma Orchestra, Glenn Gray, and it was, as far as I know, recorded on a 12-inch 78, or maybe two sides of a 78. The arranger was Bill Challis, so the Whiteman connection, fairly close, but it wasn't the Whiteman band. And Connie Boswell, as I think was everyone got. And drumming wise, it was Tony Briglia, who of course was one of the influences on Buddy Rich. He used to listen to him a lot, but you wouldn't have got that, or I don't think it wouldn't have been easy to identify any of the musicians from the role that the orchestra was playing on that particular record. And it was interesting to note that she goofed the lyrics earlier on. She sang up to the water soap by mistake, but obviously they let it through. But a wonderful recording. Now my timing on this is saying that it's going to shut the meeting down. Okay, well, we start off with Hal. It's your turn to start first, Hal.
All right. I used to have that record. I don't have it anymore.
How
I
could
sold
you get
my
rid of that?
LPs. I'm sorry. I sold all my LPs. I recognized Edmund Hall, of course, and Slam Stewart on string bass. That sounds like Big Sid on drums to me. And the pianist, I hate to say it, I'm not exactly sure. Obviously influenced by Art Tatum and Marlo Morris and people like that, with that really well-articulated right hand and a little bit of walking tense in the left hand. Really nice player. Great front line. Was that Benny Morton on trombone?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure of the rest of the band, but I hit a few there anyway.
You did very well, I would say, with that, Hal. I think Martin will know who the piano player is. Martin.
Yeah, well, I know this. This is another track I transcribed for one of the bands. So it's called A Touch of Boogie Woogie.
Yeah.
And it's Teddy Wilson. It's Teddy Wilson's band. And is the bass player Slam Stewart, or was it Al Hall or someone doing a Slam Stewart?
Well, it says it's Slam Stewart on the notes that I've got here. I remember from the LP, I seem to think it said Al Hall on the original vinyl. Yeah, but I don't know. But
I've got it on the shelf here, but it would be cheating to look at it. So I shan't do that. It's about 1944 or something like that.
Yeah.
Hot Lips Page on trumpet.
No, apparently. Well, again, the original LP said Hot Lips Page, but the later ones say Emmett Berry. So I don't know.
Okay.
It's Emmett Berry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ah, that's interesting. Yeah, great. All right. Yes, I'll have to buy the other LP. Yes. Yeah, I mean, all the tunes on this session were a bit formulaic, and I mean, Teddy Wilson never made great claims to be a composer. He did write one cracking piece called Sunny Morning that he used to play with his trio, but generally his pieces aren't all that. Of course, a wonderful player and great arranger. I mean, he's arranging up to the fore in that track, of course. Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you, Martin. Josh, what would you like to say about this?
Yeah, I mean, everything that Hal was saying was just spot on with it. But how he was commenting, and I could hear the Tatum influence as well in that one riff. I'm like, oh man, I heard that. But the one quote I remember when I talked to Louis Belson, because it was sounding like Big Sid to me on drums, and as soon as Hal said it too, I'm like, yeah. They said he was the biggest man with the lightest touch. But great track. Again, just another. Swings away, and Big Sid could swing the group as well as like Colsey Cole at the time could just really swing in Joe Jones. So those three really could put it in the pocket and just drive it. So, but great track, just really hot.
Had you heard it before, Josh?
Hadn't heard it before. No, not that one.
Worth digging out. I'll send it to you.
Great.
Lovely. Okay, Chris, what have you got to say about this?
Well, that's a great session. That was a transcription session.
Yeah.
And as Hal said, it was originally on LP, but it did come out on CD. There were 2 LPs originally, and then it came out on CD, I think, with all of the tracks. I think there are about 15 tracks that they did for one of those transcription companies, Associated or whatever it was. But yeah, it's definitely Slam Stewart. Al Hall never did any of that humming and bowing thing.
Yeah, I would favour Slam, because that was his signature, wasn't it? So it'd have to be someone imitating him, and I can't see that being that likely.
No, there's another guy that did that, and I can't remember. Major Hawley did that.
Right.
And but they were the only 2 that I know of that did that. And it is Emmett Berry. There was an LP on Jazz Archives that came out, and it was all supposed to be tracks of Hot Lips Page, and there were 2 tracks by by Wilson's band with Emmett Berry on it.
Yeah, well, my LP, and I think Martin's one, which was probably the same release, had it listed as Hot Lips Page. But the CD, I think, got it. It doesn't sound like Hot Lips Page to me.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Great stuff. Okay, next one coming up now.
A crowd of people went out in the desert to listen to what the good Lord said. All day long they heard the good Lord's words, and they got hungry and had to be fed. On only 2 little fishes and 5 loaves of bread. The Lord's disciples began to get worried, and each of them had to scratch his head. But what could they do? 'Cause each one knew there was a big crowd that had to be fed. With only 2 little fishes and 5 loaves of bread, the good Lord stood up and told his disciples to bring him the loaves of bread instead. Bring the fishes by and let him try a little idea he had in his head about those 2 little fishes and 5 loaves of bread. He broke the bread up and also the fishes, and then his disciples went ahead. But the more passed round, the more they found, with lots left over when all had been fed. On only 2 little fishes and 5 loaves of bread. Hear what I said. If we all love one another, then the world would be fed on only 2 little fishes and 5 loaves of bread.
Yeah, I knew you'd ask me because I wouldn't have a clue. No, I don't know. I enjoyed it, but I've got the faintest.
No idea about the piano player.
Ooh, well, I don't know. One of the kind of boogie guys in the background there, like Pete Johnson or someone. Or...
No, not him.
No, Sammy Price.
Sammy Price.
Oh, good. Oh, well.
Yeah.
All right, I can go for a lie down now.
You can indeed. Josh, what did you make of that?
Great track. I'd never heard it before. It was wonderful. I don't know if it was like between 28 and 30 for the years.
No, way out.
Way out. Okay.
Yeah, it's 46.
Wow. It had a really early sound to it with how I heard it. So, but again, when I heard the guitar in there and then the chords that they were playing too, then my mind started thinking maybe it's a little bit later, but then just the whole, I could tell the influence was back quite a few years from, as you say, for the year there, but a wonderful track. So it had some nice stuff in it there.
Yeah. Any idea of the singer?
No clue. Yeah. I never. Wow. Great singer. So, but again, of course, African-American Black group for sure. So, a lot hole in the vocal. I really like that. You could really feel the emotion pouring through there.
Yeah, lovely stuff. Okay, Chris, I guess you might know who this is.
Sister Rosetta Tharpe.
It is.
And you know something, I've never heard this track before. I don't really know her stuff all that well. But I have heard some of her recordings. and I recognized her voice, and it's the kind of thing that she would do.
Yeah.
And I was sitting here listening to the track, and I was thinking, I know that piano player. I was glad Martin got it as Sammy Price. It just sounded familiar, but I couldn't for the life of me figure out who it was.
He did a lot of recordings with her in that around that period for Decca, and this was the first that I heard of her because I've got it on an old Brunswick 78, and when I heard it first of all about 40 years ago, I thought, wow, that's pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah, so that would have been her on guitar, right?
Yeah, it would have.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, Hal, any can you shine any light on the rest of the rhythm section, or what are your comments on that recording?
Well, that's the first time I've heard it too.
Wow.
I figured it was Sister Rosetta when I heard the guitar that prominent along with the vocal, because I know she was able to accompany herself like that when she sang. I really haven't heard much at all of her, not even enough to identify that as her singing. It was just kind of the guitar that gave it away to me. Had no idea that was Sammy Price. The drumming, that could be just about anybody who was around at the time because they just played quiet brushes and stayed in the background. I mean, that could be somebody like Jack Parker or someone like that who we can't really hang a stylistic label on. So no, I wish I could help with the rhythm section, but I'm as lost as anyone who's hearing Rosetta Tharpe for the first time there.
Great. Well, I'm surprised it's a fresh track for you folks. It's one that I've grown up with for donkey's years and loved. Okay, well, it's Billy Taylor on bass and Wallace Bishop on the drums. Recorded in 1946, as I said. Next track coming up.
I've heard it before, but I can't remember the band because I was trying to. I mean, that's why I was thinking. I know Martin will probably know exactly who it is. But yeah, those are the Pearls, right?
Yep.
I'm just trying to remember. I'm trying to rack my brain for the band because it's like, is that a late 30s?
Yep.
I just can't think of it off the top of my head. I mean, it's been a couple months since I just heard it there, but yeah, I'm drawing a blank. I can't think.
What did you think of it?
Oh, I love it. Yeah. It's great hearing another like interpretation of it on what somebody can do. It's just it's great to see how people can get creative when hearing a song and then put it in their own style. Yeah. And again, I'm just like, I have like a Rolodex of piano players going through my mind right now. Like it stop. It's like, which one is it? So, but I'm playing from there.
Okay, lovely. Chris.
Mary Lou Williams.
Yes.
Put that one in your Rolodex. just kidding. No,
Yeah.
I don't know who the bass and drums are, but it's an interesting recording. I'm not sure that it would be considered PC in the traditional jazz world. With her sort of Tatum and Earl Hines runs there. I wonder if maybe let's see, who did she, maybe the bass player is Al Hall, but I don't know.
No, it's not Al Hall. Okay, I think that's very well done for getting Mary Lou Williams. That's great. Presumably you've got this track, have you, Chris?
I used to have the 78 of it, but I haven't listened to it in ages.
Right. Okay, Hal, your comments.
I wonder if that's Ben Thigpen on drums.
It is indeed.
Okay, I figured I knew that was Mary Lou because there's so few other pianists who've made records of the Pearls in older times. I know Frank Melrose made a recording of it that was never issued, and Earl Hines made one of the last things he recorded before he passed away in 1980 or thereabouts. But the only other record I knew of it was Mary Lou Williams, so I figured this has to be it. And that kind of very subtle brush accompaniment sounds like Ben Thigpen on her earlier records, like Walkin' and Swingin' and the recordings like that. I'm not sure of the bassist. I would guess it's somebody from Kansas City who played in the band, the Andy Kirk band with her. Yeah,
I think this is the rhythm section from the Kirk band. It's Booker Collins on bass. Martin, I guess you can fill us in. I mean, it's feasible that Jelly may have heard this. What do you think he would have made of it?
Oh, well, there is actually a story that Mary Lou Williams, as a young lady, went along to Jelly's. I think he had an office in New York, and she sat down and played the Pearls for him. And of course, he stopped her and said, "No, look." And he sat down and said, "No, this is how you phrase it." He got a warmer reception from Fats Waller, who apparently, after she played, picked her up and sort of spun her in the air, and she was wonderful. But of course, Jelly wasn't quite so impressed. But then again, nobody was good enough for Jelly, apart from Jelly.
And what did you think of the performance, Martin?
Oh, well, I enjoyed it. Yeah. I mean, I just like her sort of synthesis of everything that she does. You know, she as the guys were saying, she came out of Earl Hines, and of course she went into bebop, and she seemed to encompass the history of jazz or what was going on at that time.
And did you know it was Mary Lou?
Yes, I've got that.
I guess you might have done. Next one coming up now.
Looking good, but feeling bad is mighty hard to do. When I'm feeling blue and needing you, and needing you.
Chris, your turn to start this one off.
That's Fats Waller's session with Krupa on drums and
Yep.
Teagarden and Henry Red Allen. And wow, it really swings right along.
Doesn't it just?
Yeah, they couldn't get anybody good that day, so they called those guys.
Hal, what do you make of that?
Well, other than the identifications that Chris just made, I've been interested reading discographies and liner notes for reissues of this over the years, where sometimes the personnel is disputed, and especially the string bass. I've seen this listed as Pops Foster and Al Morgan. And to my ears, that sounds like Al Morgan, particularly behind the piano solo where everybody else drops out. And there's more going on than Pops Foster normally played. He tended to just play kind of straight ahead rhythm and not those New Orleans syncopations like Wellman Bro and Morgan and Ed Garland played. I mean, it's a wonderful, wonderful performance, whoever it is, but my vote there is on Al Morgan.
Yeah, the CD listing I've got says Al Morgan on here, and the internet said Ray Baduke on drums, but that isn't Ray Baduke, that's Krupa, without any doubt. Okay, Martin, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I knew it was Fats. Yeah, I'm sure I've got that LP somewhere. Great swinging track. Lovely. Not much to say about it, really. Too good. Beyond category.
Okay, Josh.
Yeah, I'd heard that one before too, and that all the names. Yeah, I mean, especially with Krupa driving the drums like that, that was his distinct sound, and it's just one that is hard to miss and hard to. But yeah, I mean, I know why some people could probably think that was Baduke, because when we heard that first track, I mean, that was Baduke, and some people are like, well, maybe that could be somebody else, but no, I mean, that definitely Krupa for that one there. So a lot of fun to play.
Okay, right, now my time is saying 5:28. Now the last track may run out. If it does, I don't think it's worth starting it up again for just one track, so I'll play it. And if it dies on us, I wish everyone good night and thank you for participating. So let's play the last track. Here we go.
I'll be glad when you're dead, you're asking you.
Rascal you,
I'll be glad when you're dead, you're asking you.
rascal you.
Now I brought you into my home. You wouldn't leave my wife alone. I'll be glad after you.
After you.
I'll be glad when you tell your rascal you.
Why you a dirty rascal?
I'll be tickled to death when you leave this earth, you dog.
Oh, you dog.
Now I took you for my friend. The way you bit me in the back was a sin. Oh, you rascal you. God damn it. I'll be glad when you're dead, you're asking you. I'll be tickled to death when you leave this earth, you dog.
No, you dog.
When you laid 6 feet deep, no more fried chicken when you eat. I know that'll break your heart. You love chicken, don't you, Jack? I'll be glad when you're dead, you're asking you. I'll be glad when you're dead, you're asking you. Boy, you asked my wife for some cabbage, and you ate just like a savage. I'm telling you, look at Nick, I don't give it there. I'll be glad when you're dead, you're asking you. I'll be glad when you're dead, you're asking you. Look here, boy, you know one thing? You wait till I come back. I'm going to play a number for you. I'll take one time. I'll be glad when you're dead, you're asking you. I'll be glad when you're dead, you're asking you. Look here, boy. What is it that you got that makes my wife think you so hot?
A glorified Frankfurt.
Thanks, Louis Armstrong, for coming as our guest star today, and come again soon, won't
Oh,
you?
it's a pleasure, Bob. Great pleasure.
So long, Louis, and we'll be looking for that new motion picture.
You've been listening to the program, This.
There we are. Louis Armstrong, Wild Bill Davis and George Brunis, Albert Nicholas, Danny Barker, Art Hodes, Pops Foster and Baby Dodds. My thanks to Josh Duffy, Chris Tile, Martin Litton and Hal Smith, and to all of you for joining us. It's been great fun. We'll do it all again very soon. Thank you, folks, and see you again.